Welcome to another episode of Something Came from Baltimore. I'm your host, Tom Gauker, and tonight on the phone is the drummer for Tomar and the FCs, Paul Kresowick. Austin, Texas is the home of excellent music talent, along with South by Southwest Music Festival. It's the place to be. Besides Nashville, Austin is it. And Austin is where you find Tomar and the FCs. It's a traditional Stax vibe R&B band. It can be found in the mix between Sharon Jones and the Dap-kings, Raphael Sadiq, St. Paul and the Broken Bones, and Fritz and the Tantrums. And that's where you'll find Tomar and the FC mix. March 13th, 2020, Tomar and the FCs released their second recording. This one's called Rise Above, and it can be found on the Splice Records. Let's chat with Paul Kresowick from Tomar and the FCs and see why this band is ready for national success. First, let's take a listen to their first single off the album, Innocent.
I should have known better what you were all about. But deep in my gut, I had no sense of doubt. I'm saying, I've been in love with your innocence. Don't know what happened to you ever since. So mesmerized with your lady grace. Give me the kick to get back to stage.
Paul Kresowick, welcome to Something Came from Baltimore.
Thanks. Yeah, it's good to be on.
Great. Hey, it's funny that I get to talk to you because the very first song, Can You See, has a really cool drum lick that I don't think is standard old R&B vibe. It feels like a kind of a more of a jazzier kind of drum beat. But I was wondering how close you guys are committed to like your source material.
We're heavily influenced by soul music, but I think all of us, whether consciously or unconsciously, make an effort not to just completely emulate that era, because the reality is we'll never be that good. So we try and bring the elements that we grew up with as well. And it's very perceptive that you mentioned the jazz influences. I grew up playing jazz. That was my first real musical love. So that influence is there for me. And, everyone in the band has different influences. So we try and bring those to bear and hopefully create our own sound that, pays tribute to the music that we love, the soul music of the 60s and 70s, but doesn't completely try and emulate it.
I called you yesterday on the phone.
Do you guys like ever dig into the Stax catalog and kind of go in? Because I feel you're more Stax than Motown.
Oh, man. Yes. That has been where my head is at the last 6 months. I've been reading all the books. I've been listening to Stax for a long time, but this is as intensive as I've gotten with it. So this album pays true to that a little bit, but it's more in the later stages of it coming together.
Stax, if you listen to their catalog, they represent the blues also. And I think that you have Dave Earle, like your organ player. While the band is like kind of lost a lot of the horns, they've kind of pumped him up more in the mix. Some of the songs now have that more bluesier side than the R&B side.
Exactly.
Of Stax. I mean, still Stax-like, but a little on the bluesier side.
Yeah, no, that's again very perceptive, and that was definitely a conscious thing on our end in the mix. Where I think it's pretty common that people kind of mix the keys down a lot, and because of the way we were playing live, we realized, hey, if we don't have horn players, what he's doing with the Rhodes and the organ is going to become that much more important. And he's just great with the all those different sounds and filling up that sonic space. So we wanted to make sure that was captured in the record. So there's definitely some discussions of, the engineer being like, wait, you want to turn it up how much? Like, no, we really want it that loud. That's the way we want it. So I'm glad you heard that and you enjoyed it. But yeah, some of that comes from that Stax influence as well. Booker T, obviously a brilliant musician.
Thank you so much.
you sound hot live. Like I can tell it's like a live band is where you need to be seen, because I think that you can be explosive live.
Yeah, and that's definitely our journey. I mean, we've definitely been a primarily live band for the last 5 years, and I think the next kind of journey is going to be really figuring out the studio stuff, because I like everything we've done, but we're still growing as a studio band, and some of that's time. I mean, you were talking about Stax, where a lot of those guys were, in the studio more than 8 hours a day, sometimes 10, 12, 16 hours a day, and they really built this sound. And, studio's a little more tricky because unless you have your own studio, you're paying for time. And we were lucky that David Burrow, the keyboard player, did have a home studio, so we recorded a lot of the instrumental stuff there. But yeah, the live show has been really important to us, and we're still trying to figure out how to completely capture, that live show in a recorded sense. They're kind of different animals. But yes, if any of your listeners are in Austin, Texas, and sometimes, tour as well, I recommend the live show. Tomar's got incredible energy, and he's worth checking out in person.
I can't believe how this all caved in on me. No. I thought we had this thing sorted out just last week. My job just laid me off yesterday. To be blindsided with all this news today. Hey, I know I said I would change my wicked ways, but the time you gave me seemed to win astray. So girl,
I love Fine Time.
You never really know if you're picking out singles what's really going to land, and that one has gotten a lot more attention than we expected, but it's a great song. Tomar wrote that one. The other one that, the other part of that I want to bring to light is the Soul Supporters sang backup on our whole record, and they really do an amazing job throughout. But the intro of that song always makes me smile, because I remember being in the studio with them, and they literally did the whole album in a day. And just that intro was a kind of keyboard lick, and we were like, I think they were just goofing around, and they started doing that a cappella vocal stuff, and we were like, wait, what is that? And they're like, oh, we were just kind of screwing around. We're like, wait, do that again. And ended up keeping it, and it really creates a great bond, So, but yeah, Tomar's outro is fantastic.
she might be too good for me, yeah, but still wanna make her mine. Still gotta make her mine. Yeah, gonna make her mine.
This woman, where this is where that organ solo, or the organ throughout the whole song, just really gives me the group The Animals feel, and that's a compliment, because the Animals kind of rock.
I love Animals.
So,
no, absolutely.
Tell us a little more about that song.
Sure. Yeah, that's actually our oldest song, but Tomar had that song, and that was the first song we wrote as a band. And the first 2 recordings, we tried it, and it just never really worked. We couldn't really get it to where we were happy with it. And then we brought it out for these sessions, and it really came together, and the organ part's huge. And I think Tomar's vocal on that one is really outstanding. Every song is great, but he really put a lot of emotion into that vocal.
Morning with so much to do. Turn off the TV cause my mind was through. Many people talking, the average mind is so confused.
I find that Tomar's voice has a little Raphael Saadiq vibe to it, but he has a lot of other ghosts in there too. I kept on thinking maybe there's a little Wilson Pickett in him also. It's great that he just sounds like himself. Like I can't see him other than comparing to Raphael Saadiq. I can't get any closer than that.
Yeah, no, that's a really apt comparison. I mean, Tomar grew up in that era, and actually he had a band that was kind of very influenced by Tony. So he's been a Raphael Saadiq fan for a long time. So that's definitely an appropriate comparison. But he grew up in a musical family, and his dad is a big jazz and soul fan. So all those great soul figures are influential. And then he grew up in the era of Michael Jackson and Prince as well. So those are huge influences on what he does. But yeah, he's got his own voice. And, I think what's exciting for me is I feel like we've explored some of it on this record, but he's got so many different textures that he can go to. And I feel like that's what's exciting about future recording projects is, we can explore some other textures and things that we haven't really been able to do in the studio yet.
My final question is, what does the FCs stand for?
Yeah, the Funky Caucasians. So I'll give you the full story. So the first time we ever played as an instrumental band, I had just come off a year-long gig with a band, and I left that band, and I was missing playing soul music, and so I got some friends together to play some Booker T covers, some Meters covers, and when they showed up, Andy was wearing a white shirt maybe, David was yellow, and Mitch was red or something like that, and so I said, y'all look like the Funky Condiments, and so that was the name of the instrumental band for about a week, and then they hated it. They couldn't stand it. So I changed it to the FCs, and then we came off the stage in San Antonio one night, and an older gentleman said, y'all are some funky Caucasians, and they liked that better. So that became the name.
I love that. I think you should just call yourself the Funky Caucasians and leave it alone. Not do FCs, but just put it out there. I think you'll get more attention, I think.
Oh, I would love that too, but yeah, they don't really love the Funky Caucasians either, so we'll leave it to FCs. So, but I agree with you, but I got overruled on that one, so.
Yeah, I guess that's what you get when you're in a band. Yeah.
Right.
All right, so the new album is called Rise Up. It's a great album. The band is Tomar and the FCs, the Funky Caucasians. And I thank you, Paul Kresowick, for talking to me on Something Came from Baltimore.
Sure, Tom. No, it's a pleasure, and yeah, thanks so much for having us. And we were in Baltimore last year, and we hope to be back soon.
Great, we'll look for you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Darling, you picked a real fine time to leave me, girl. You picked a real fine time to leave me, darling. You picked a real fine time to leave me, girl. Ah, hey, ah,
Hi, it's Tom Gauker, and I am the host of Something Came from Baltimore. Something Came from Baltimore is a words and music podcast, and it has famous and future famous artists. Artists like Sharon Jones, Rupert Holmes, Auntie Hammy, Joey DeFrancesco, Go-Go Penguin, Joey Alexander, Bucanti, Gerald Albright, Paula Cole, and Kat Edmondson. It's music that matters. It's music for your ears. Listen and subscribe to Something Came from Baltimore and be a part of that Be More music scene.
Something